The birthday cake sat in the center of the table, 60 candles flickering across Mom's hopeful face. She wanted this, all her children together, celebrating, pretending we were still the family from the Christmas cards she sent out every year. "Make a wish, Mom," my older sister Victoria said, her voice carrying that practiced warmth she used in business meetings. She stood beside Mom's chair, one hand resting possessively on the back, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the light. I sat 3 chairs down, between Aunt Linda and my younger cousin Marcus, the safe zone, the place where I could smile, nod, and avoid the inevitable commentary about my life choices. Mom closed her eyes, took a breath, and blew out the candles. Everyone applauded. Victoria immediately began cutting perfect slices, playing hostess in Mom's own home like she always did. "So, Rachel," Victoria's husband Dennis said, accepting his plate, "still doing that freelance thing?" The table quieted. I felt 14 pairs of eyes shift toward me. "I am," I said simply. "Must be nice," Victoria cut in, her knife sliding through another layer of cake. "So much freedom. No real responsibilities, no schedule to keep." I took a sip of water and said nothing. "I mean, at some point, you have to think about your future, right?" She handed a plate to Dad. "Benefits, retirement, stability, the things that matter." "Victoria," Mom said softly, warning in her voice. "What? I'm just being honest." Victoria looked around the table, gathering support from the audience. "Rachel's 32 years old. She's living in that tiny apartment, driving that ancient car, doing random projects for random clients. It's not a career. It's just drifting." My cousin Sarah shifted uncomfortably. Uncle Tom studied his cake very intently. "I'm doing fine," I said. "Are you, though?" Victoria set down the cake knife, fully committed to the intervention now. "When was the last time you bought something nice for yourself? When was the last time you went on a real vacation, not just camping because it's cheap?" "I like camping." "You like it because you can't afford anything else?" She turned to Mom. "I'm sorry, but someone needs to say it. We're all tiptoeing around Rachel's feelings, pretending everything is okay, but it's not okay. She's wasting her potential." My phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. "I have a good life," I said quietly. "You have a cheap life," Victoria corrected. "There's a difference." "Look, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to help. You're smart, Rachel. You could do something real if you just applied yourself. Get a real job. Build a real career. Stop pretending that cobbling together freelance gigs is the same as having actual professional success." The phone buzzed again. 2 messages now. "Victoria, that's enough, Dad," but his voice lacked conviction. He'd been saying the same things privately for years. "No, it's not enough. Rachel needs to hear this." Victoria moved around the table, warming to her theme, working the room like she was presenting to the board. "I started at Morrison & Hale as an associate, entry level. I worked my way up to senior VP of operations. 13 years of 60-hour weeks, of proving myself, of building something. That's what career progression looks like." She stopped beside my chair. "You could do that too. You're capable. But instead, you're choosing to stay small, to stay safe, to avoid the real world where performance matters and results count. Find a real job." The room went completely silent. Victoria stood there, hand still on my shoulder, waiting for me to crumble, argue, or storm out like I'd done at Thanksgiving 3 years ago when she'd made similar comments about my lack of ambition. I set down my fork carefully, pulled my phone from my pocket, and opened my email. "You're right," I said quietly. Victoria blinked. "I am?" "I am." I scrolled through my inbox, found the thread I needed, then I opened the draft I had been considering for 3 weeks, the one my chief operating officer had prepared, the one I'd kept putting off because I'd wanted to believe Victoria could change, could see me as something other than her failure of a younger sister. I made one small edit, changing the effective date to today instead of end of quarter.
Then I hit send. The email left my outbox with a soft whoosh. "What are you doing?" Victoria asked, confused by my calm. "Taking your advice," I said. "Making professional decisions based on performance and results." My phone buzzed immediately. A reply from Jennifer Matsuda, my Director of Human Resources. Confirmed, termination processed. Severance calculated per executive contract. Security has been notified. I'll handle the announcement Monday morning. Another buzz. My COO. "Are you sure about this? It's your call, but there will be questions." I typed back. "I'm sure. It's overdue." "Rachel, what are you talking about?" Mom asked, concern creeping into her voice. Victoria's phone chimed, then chimed again. She frowned, pulled it from her clutch. I watched her face as she opened the confusion, then the disbelief, then the dawning horror. "What?" She looked up at me. "What is this?" "What's what?" Dennis asked. Victoria's hand trembled slightly as she held out her phone. I just received a termination notice from Morrison and Hale, effective immediately." The table erupted in confused murmurs. "That doesn't make sense. Who would send that? Is it a scam?" "It's from HR. It has my employee number, my salary information, my—" She looked at me, really looked at me. "Did you do this?" "I took your advice. I made a professional decision based on performance and results." "What are you talking about? You don't even work there." I took another sip of water. "Actually, I've owned Morrison and Hale for 6 years, acquired it through my holding company when the founder wanted to retire. I've been the sole owner since you were promoted to senior VP." The silence that fell over the table was absolute. "That's not possible," Victoria said, but her voice had lost its certainty. "The freelance work you've been mocking, that's me consulting for my other properties, the 12 companies I own across tech, real estate, and manufacturing. The random projects are me personally vetting acquisition targets and integration strategies." Mom's hand went to her mouth. "The tiny apartment is a downtown penthouse I bought in cash because I like the building's architecture. The ancient car is a 1967 Mustang I restored myself because I enjoy the work." I met Victoria's eyes. "And the camping trips are to locations I'm considering for my next eco-resort development." Dennis had gone pale. "You're saying you own Morrison and Hale?" "The termination notice Victoria just received came from Jennifer Mitsuda, Director of Human Resources. She reports directly to my Chief Operating Officer, who reports directly to me." I pulled up another email and held out my phone so Victoria could see. "Here's the executive organizational chart. My name is at the top." Victoria grabbed the phone and stared at the screen. I watched her scroll through the attachment, seeing her own name 4 levels below mine. "This can't be real," she whispered. "Your severance package is quite generous. 13 weeks of pay, 1 week for each year of service. Your stock options vest immediately. Your health insurance continues for 6 months. And I've included a letter of recommendation that highlights your operational efficiency and process optimization skills." "Wait," Uncle Tom said, "if you've owned the company for 6 years, that means I've been Rachel's employee for 6 years," Victoria finished, her voice hollow. "Every promotion, every bonus, She looked at me. "You've been signing my paychecks this entire time." "Not personally, I have people for that. But yes, technically your $156,000 annual salary came from my company." Dad stood up abruptly. "Rachel, this is some kind of joke, right? Some elaborate—" His phone rang. He looked at the screen, frowned, and answered. "Hello? Yes, this is Robert Chen." "What?" "No, this is my cell phone. How did you—" He glanced at me. "I don't understand the country club membership, but I've been a member for—" His face changed. "What do you mean the account was never mine?"
I'd forgotten about that country club membership I purchased in Dad's name 5 years ago because Mom had wanted him to have somewhere to play golf, the one I'd been paying for through an anonymous trust. The membership was a gift, I said quietly. But given tonight's conversation, I think it's appropriate to let you start paying your own way. The club will send you the annual fee information. It's $48,000 a year plus monthly minimums. Mom made a small sound. "This is insane," Victoria said, but she was looking at her phone again, scrolling through something. "Oh my God, the lease on our townhouse. Rachel, did you—" "I own the building," I confirmed. "Bought it 3 years ago as part of a portfolio acquisition. When you applied to lease the penthouse unit, I told the property manager to approve you immediately. Below market rate, actually. I thought family should get a discount." Dennis had his own phone out now. "The car lease. Honey, the car lease just got a termination notice too. They want the BMW back by the end of the week or we start paying the full market rate, which is," he swallowed, "which is $2,100 a month." "That was also through one of my companies," I said. "I subsidized the lease as a performance bonus. It seemed appropriate for a senior VP, even if Victoria didn't know where it was really coming from." Victoria slowly sat back down in her chair. The cake knife lay forgotten beside the half-served dessert. "Why?" she whispered. "If you own all this, if you're this successful, why did you let us think that I was a failure?" "Because I wanted to know who you really were, who you all were. Whether you valued me as a person or only as a reflection of my achievements." I looked around the table at the family members who'd joined Victoria's mockery over the years, at the ones who'd stayed silent rather than defend me, at Mom, who'd never quite been able to hide her disappointment in my choices. I built something real, not for recognition, not for approval, but because I wanted to create companies that mattered. Companies that treated employees well and contributed something meaningful. Morrison & Hale is profitable because I restructured it to focus on sustainable practices and fair wages. We've grown 40% since I took over because people want to work for companies that value them. But Victoria, Aunt Linda started, "You needed to get a real job, to build a real career, to stop wasting my potential." I looked at my sister. "You were talking to your boss, Victoria. You were telling the owner of your company, the person who approved your salary, your bonuses, and your corner office, that she was a failure who needed to get her life together." The weight of that settled over the room. "In any other company," I continued, "that would be immediate grounds for termination. But I've kept you on for 6 years. Kept paying you, kept promoting you based on your actual performance, not our relationship, because I believe in separating personal from professional." "Until tonight," Victoria said bitterly. "Until tonight," I agreed. "Tonight, at our mother's birthday party, you humiliated me in front of our entire family. You used your professional success that came from my company, as a weapon to make me feel small. That crosses the line from personal criticism to professional liability." I stood up and smoothed my simple cotton dress, the kind Victoria had mocked me for wearing to nice events. "Your termination had nothing to do with our relationship as sisters. It had everything to do with your judgment as an executive. You spent years working for a company without ever bothering to learn who actually owned it. You never questioned the generous salary, the rapid promotions, the below-market rent, or the subsidized car lease. You just assumed you deserved all of it." "Rachel," Mom said, tears in her eyes, "please, this is too much. Can't you—" "I've already been too lenient. Any other CEO would have fired Victoria the first time she badmouthed the company owner at a family event. That was 3 Thanksgivings ago. I've given her 3 years of chances to see me differently." My phone buzzed again. Another message from my COO. "Board is asking about Morrison & Hale's situation. Should I prepare a statement?" I typed back, "Tell them executive restructuring. Details Monday."
"You'll be fine, Victoria," I said, meaning it. "You're genuinely good at operations. You'll find another position. But it won't be at any of my companies, and it won't come with free rent or subsidized perks." I picked up my purse and kissed Mom's cheek. "I'm sorry your birthday ended this way," I told her. "I really did try to let it go." "Rachel, wait!" Dad started, but I was already walking toward the door. Behind me, I heard Victoria start to cry. I heard Dennis asking what they were going to do about the rent, the car, the bills they'd built around a lifestyle they could suddenly no longer afford. My phone rang as I reached my car. Jennifer, from HR. "The announcement is drafted for Monday morning," she said, "but we're getting questions from the executive team. Victoria had 3 major projects in motion." "Promote David Chen to interim VP of operations," I said. "He's been ready for months. This will give him the opportunity to prove it." "Understood. And, Rachel, for what it's worth, I think you made the right call." I sat in my car, the '67 Mustang I'd spent 2 years restoring, and let out a long breath. My phone lit up with texts. From Mom, "Please come back, we can talk about this." From Victoria, "You ruined my life because you hurt my feelings." From Dad, "This is vindictive and cruel and not who I raised you to be." I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I drove to my tiny apartment, the 2,800 square foot penthouse with the city view Victoria had never bothered to visit. I poured a glass of wine, sat on my balcony, and watched the lights below. My phone kept buzzing. Messages from family members, calls from Victoria, an email from Dennis asking if we could work something out. Monday morning, my chief operating officer called. The announcement went out. Victoria's direct reports are asking questions. The board wants to discuss executive stability, and somehow 3 business journals found out you're the owner. They're requesting interviews. "Decline the interviews," I said. "Promote David Chen and tell the board I'll address them at next quarter's meeting." "There's one more thing," she said carefully. "Victoria came to the building this morning. Security turned her away, but she's claiming wrongful termination, says she's going to sue." I wasn't surprised. Victoria had always fought back when she didn't get her way. I said, "Forward everything to legal. Her contract is ironclad. The termination was justified. And remind her that the severance package is contingent on signing a non-disparagement agreement." Already done. That afternoon, Victoria called from a number I didn't recognize. "You can't do this," she said without preamble. "You were compensated well for every one of those years," I replied calmly. "I'm going to fight this. I'm going to tell everyone what you did." "Feel free. Tell them your younger sister, the one you called a failure for years, built a successful company and gave you a job where you thrived. Tell them she promoted you based on merit and paid you fairly. Tell them she subsidized your lifestyle and asked for nothing in return except basic respect." Silence on the line. "You know what the worst part is?" Victoria finally said. "You let me believe I did it myself. You let me think I earned everything through my own talent." "You did earn it," I said. "I never promoted you because you're my sister. I promoted you because you're good at operations. That part was real, Victoria. The only thing that wasn't real was your perception of me." "I'm your sister." "Yes, and I'm the person who's been signing your paychecks for 6 years while you told everyone I was a failure." I paused. "Family cuts both ways. If you wanted me to protect you professionally, you should have protected me personally." She hung up. I went back to work, reviewed 3 acquisition proposals, approved the eco-resort project I'd been scouting, and signed off on a new sustainability initiative for Morrison & Hale that would make Victoria's old department redundant. After a week, the family stopped calling. After 2, they stopped texting. Mom sent one final message. "I don't understand how this became who you are." I almost responded, almost explained that this had always been who I was. They just never bothered to look. But I didn't. Instead, I built my companies, promoted people who deserved it, created jobs, opportunities, and value.
And when the business journals finally ran their pieces about the mysterious CEO who'd been operating in stealth mode for years, my family read about my success the same way everyone else did, in print from a distance.